podcast. I keep saying I want to say an episode number. Jamie still hasn't given me an episode number to go by. Maybe by the next one, eh? All right. So we're here with truLOCAL in front of me, Marc LaFleur. And then we have D Scro to the side of me. Marc, I wanted to bring you on. I know you're like, what is mortgages and a meat company have to, especially when I'm vegetarian, right?
Yeah.
I know. But I wanted to bring you on because you were obviously one of my clients, and I wanted to know. You always, like, I look at your stuff and I'm like, wow, he's so successful. All these followers. It's so exciting. I want to know, like, was it always like that? Because you did a specific post that caught my attention. I guess you were on vacation. You're like, we finally made it.
Right.
So
which post was this?
It was when you were on vacation.
Okay, right. I got you.
Yeah. So I was like, the struggles are real, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We've definitely, until you've actually made it, you've never made it. Right. So reaching those little milestones, it kind of feels like you might have made it. So when we were on vacations, it's the first vacation I took in, I don't know how many years. And I think the actual post was something on the lines of like, stuck between celebrating where we've gotten and getting back to work. I think it's the exact one, right? So
yeah, that was awesome.
The whole point of that was that for the past 2 years of building the business, you never really take a break. And a lot of people that start businesses kind of just go through the whole slog without taking a second to reflect. And just because we're on vacation, it was the first time I got to look back, and we're nowhere near being where we need to go. And we have a long way to continue going. But it was the first time I actually got to take a second and look back on where we started. We started the business in a garage with,
Amazing.
2 people. So, once again, still a long way to go, but it was just kind of nice to take a step back and reflect on where we've been.
Awesome. truLOCAL.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your vision.
truLOCAL, yeah. So honestly,
let's do this. I know, and honestly, this is kind of irony.
Yeah, it is 100%. Well, I just found out you're a vegetarian just a few days ago. So yeah, for the first time, so I'm like, oh my God, she's been hating me this whole time. But yeah, it's like I was telling you before, we actually have a lot of vegetarians that shop with us. So what we do, truLOCAL is all about connecting you to the source. So meat being one of the most controversial things food-wise out there, period. We realize that there's a lot of people that are looking to get more transparency, more sustainability, and want that direct connection to where their food's coming from.
Amazing.
So truLOCAL started off 3 years ago to be the online way to kind of, use best practices from other industries.
You bridge the gap.
Exactly. We're trying to bridge the gap. So we've created a platform. We work with local farmers. We started off in Ontario, but we're also operating in Alberta and BC.
I heard buffalo.
We have buffalo. Oh yeah, we have buffalo, bison, we've had elk.
Yeah, that's
all the good
amazing,
stuff.
Man.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like in Ontario, we have over 90 different products, right? The only stuff we have that's not from Ontario is the fish. So for obvious reasons, we have wild caught salmon.
Sure.
The Ontario fish we have is perch and pickerel, but we just partner with awesome producers that have a great story. And now instead of having to drive out there, we're allowing them to get online, and we'll ship it out to you overnight. So
amazing. From a consumer perspective, D. Like where do you buy your meats?
Fortino's,
hey, it's better than some places, 100%. I think a lot of people.
Fortino's.
There's nothing wrong with Fortino's.
But listen, wouldn't it like price efficiency? Let's talk about price cost,
Fortino's
right?
is
like
not
that I'm trying to throw you online, like throw you in the limelight about this, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what meats cost, right? So I don't do that. So that's why I wanted to get if you could have everything convenient for you. So it literally comes to your house, delivered in a box, and it's right around the same price. Would you not go for that?
Yeah, of course.
You hate going grocery shopping.
I hate grocery shopping. Yeah. I despise it. Every time I look at my fridge or my freezer and it's getting empty, I'm like, oh my God.
Wouldn't it be easier to hit a button and then next thing you know, it's showing up?
Right?
Yeah.
And actually, I didn't even know it worked like that. It comes right to your door the next day.
Yeah, or the office, or the gym. We have a lot of people that are in the gym, the fitness space, and they get it delivered to their gym. So pretty much wherever you want it, we'll deliver it.
Don't deliver it here, D. No, I'm kidding.
You know what? You'll never believe this. So this
Carmen's
is back
next Christmas gift.
Yeah,
this is a box of steak.
Yeah, we'll just send the box, but put like something else in it. But back in the day, like the really early days when we pretty much were delivering some customers like by hand,
That's
we had just started shipping the boxes, but we actually had a vegetarian shopping with us. And they worked in kind of like a vegetarian kind of community sort of thing. But the whole concept was that her family was not a vegetarian. So if they had to feed their family meat, they would rather feed them meat that's coming from a sustainable source.
So Marc, when you first started your delivery, what did that look like? You driving, dropping that off, or how did
absolutely.
it look?
Like
That's amazing.
We used to drive. So I've always said this too, for any business people or just like self-sufficient people in general, get used to driving. I know a lot of people that the idea of commuting 15 minutes to work is like the end of the world for them. Well, I've grown up, commuting an hour and a half to work or 2 hours, and it made everything more accessible. So when we started the business, we did everything. We got this super sketchy garage. We just couldn't find anywhere else that would lease us a place that was on a 1-year lease.
Right.
And then we would literally accept orders from the farmers. We would fill our freezers with them. We'd pack the boxes. We would do trade shows, do gym events, do that. But then, we would actually have to deliver the packages ourselves. So that's like from driving, in a day, I remember this, we have like 5 or 10 orders to deliver, and we would go to Mitchell, Ontario, all the way down to
But how
Ajax.
did you stay sane around that time? Because I find like we're 2 years and you see the struggles, right? So I've never, ever broken down and all that, but the struggles are real, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're doing your financials for the first year and you're like, why am I doing this, right? Like I want to know from you, what kept you sane?
Honestly, I talk about this a lot, but it's finding a vision, and it doesn't have to be anything big or anything grand, but it's something that's really clear, right? And if you have that vision and you want it more than anything, it's really easy. Like, starting a business sucks. Like it really does. And I think a lot of people glorify being in business or being an entrepreneur. The payoff is great. The journey is great. And everything about it, there's a lot of great things about it, but those great things come because you survived,
Right?
And when you talk to other business owners, they survived, and you can relate that way. But it's hard. So the thing for me is that I was, my previous job, I was making good money. I got to buy a couple investment properties and things were good. And, being 22, making that kind of money, I was still miserable. So I wasn't enjoying, life. I had all the money in the world and I wasn't traveling. I wasn't doing fun things. And I kind of realized that it's because I was still scared. I wasn't going to walk into another job like that. I made that money because it was a sales job and I worked my way through it. If I lost that job tomorrow or the company went out of business, I'm not going to walk into another job like that. So I realized really the lifestyle I have right now, it's not sustainable. It's not growing. It's not some sort of passive income. So I realized that if I ever actually wanted to be free and do the things that I want to do, I had to get into business. So for me, the fear of living a normal, well, not normal, but just the fear of settling, right? The fear of, doing a 9-to-5 for 40 years. That to me scares me more than anything that I could ever face in business. There's no shitty scenario. There's no bad situation. There's no fire that scares me more than the idea of, just you're settling. So that's what gets me out of bed every day. And some days it's close, right? In that first year, it's bad. Like there are things that happen. I always say you get kicked in the nuts every single day. And I think for us, what really got it through is that we were able to build such a strong community early on. So our early customers and our early team members really kind of made it worth it. And, something bad happens, but then you get this customer that's just talking to you, giving you feedback about how much they're enjoying the service. And
it's amazing.
You started seeing it. We're a very branded company and we have a mission and we have a focus. And I think people got behind that. And that's really what helped push it forward.
That's amazing. You were on Dragon's Den. How was that?
That was awesome.
How was that experience? I watched the episode. I'm like, oh, this is exciting.
I watch that all the time.
It's it was amazing.
Like honestly, were you like nervous pitching it? How was that whole experience?
Yeah, so I like to talk a lot and I talk really fast. So I'm sure some of your listeners are probably like, what is he even saying right now? But I like to talk a lot and I'd raised money prior to that. I've done some work in San Francisco and we had a couple startups before this. So I have some experience in that area, but there's a big difference between trying to raise money behind closed doors with VCs or trying to raise money from angel investors that you kind of just got to, break the ice on and keep being persistent on. Because you can be weird, right? You can be like, hey, look, we got to do this. We got to make it happen. You can be what's the word? I guess like eccentric, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing it on national television, you got to calm it down. You don't want to mess up. If you mess up, if you stutter, like anyone that watches me there. And that was actually, it wasn't the pitch. It wasn't the numbers. It wasn't knowing the business. It was just being ready to be on the national stage. And, if you mess up, they're absolutely going to air that. They'd rather air that than air the success, right? Because it's this awesome, it's good for TV. So for me, it wasn't nerve-wracking in the business sense, but it was definitely nerve-wracking being there and just like, okay, talk slow, be clear, be concise. But it was the best experience ever for personal development. I'd recommend that anybody, I think that whether you get aired or get a deal, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. But every person who's starting a business should do Dragon's Den just because it's a rite of passage. And if as you're building your business, a lot of people have had amazing success without Dragon's Den. I'm not saying that you need to go through that to be successful, but what I'm saying is that it's a great kind of benchmark or marker for you to be like, hey, I've done all these things, but here's a great way to put yourself under pressure, take you out of your comfort zone and do something that, it's high risk and high reward. So amazing.
So I was talking to Mark the other day and I'm like, why doesn't he target? I'm like, because one of my friends, he's a fitness model. And he signed up. He saw me. He thought it was funny. He's like, you're a vegetarian. And then he looked you guys up. But what I'm saying is, I was saying to Mark yesterday, I'm like, Mark, why doesn't he target? He's like, he has been targeting them, like all the fitness shows and all that stuff. So you do that. So what type of shows do you guys go to?
We'll do tons of shows. Like for us, it's really wherever we have a huge presence in the CrossFit community. So for CrossFit, once again, you know, I think CrossFit, the beautiful thing about it is that the reason people are so into CrossFit is because it's such a community. And what we've done with truLOCAL is try to build a community. So I think that people in that space can relate to that. It's not like they're just buying meat, right? I always say we're not even a meat company. I've been saying this for years. You know, for us, we try to leverage the technology that's out there right now to make this stuff easier to shop for. It so happens that our product is meat, but our end of the day mission is to connect people directly to local producers and suppliers.
That's amazing.
So building a community around that mission, meat was an entry point for us. And I think that once again, the fitness space really picked up on that because they're part of a huge community as well.
Of course,
so we just try to build out those partnerships as much as we can. They're amazing. They get excited when we go into the gyms, and it's just really, really good.
Dee, your thoughts on the whole product? You didn't even know what he did you?
No, I didn't know. I
walk in, she's like Googling.
No. I knew what you did. I just didn't know how it worked, right? Mm-hmm. It's funny because like you do see other businesses, maybe not the same, but like they'll do like the whole recipe, right? Like
that's eFresh in that, right?
Yeah, so the meal kits, right? So
that's right.
That's an amazing, it's a crazy story. So we always try to differentiate as much as possible from the meal kits, not for any reason other than the fact that for us, it's not just about the meal, right? For us, it's about the connection to the source. It's about the connection to the farmer.
That's exactly it, right? Because when I was eating meat, I would go to 52. I'd have to drive an hour out to pick up my meat because I refused to buy it from the grocery store. So if I had that connection, I would do it.
Exactly. And let's talk about it for a second. Like you look at the industry, right? So meal kits have raised literally hundreds of millions of dollars, right? Sure. The industry right now is a little bit under fire, but overall, the industry has raised hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
They've normalized it, but at the end of the day, it's a commodity, right? So that's what it's become.
Yeah.
And if you look at companies like Instacart and Uber Eats, 100%. And they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars to normalize buying at major retailers, major grocery chains, right? Yeah. Because that's where all the money is. People are going to grocery stores. But if I could tell you, so right now our pricing is comparable to Whole Foods, right? So it's a premium product, you get what you pay for. Yeah. But I always say the argument for this, if someone was investing and taking the time to make it as easy, so one click away, right? With Instacart, it's one click away to go from the grocery store, with Uber Eats, if you want to eat out, it's a one click away. But no one's making it that way for local farmers. So if someone was able to do that, there's such a massive opportunity to actually bring local producing and local farming to more of a mainstream level, right?
So you started delivering them yourself. Now where are you at?
Oh, not delivering them ourselves. We're not delivering them ourselves. Still pack boxes though. We'll get called in. We have some pretty crazy days. We've been growing a lot over the past couple of years. So for us, it's even me developing myself, right? So when I started off, it was doing everything, right? So
you did social media. You did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You were saying that.
Luckily, I was able to hand that off early on, and the person who's taking care of it now is absolutely crushing it. And once again, part of that whole community aspect. But even for me personally, trying to run a business, I'm always developing. And right now, a big part of that is learning how to manage better and learning how to become more of a manager make sure the team has everything they need to succeed. So it's gone from, packing boxes, being at trade shows, going to every single farm. One of the good things, I still go to every single farm, but going there on a weekly basis because we run out of product to go pick it up and bring it over so we can ship it out. That stuff's changed. And now it's more making sure that the team is able to do all that. So my role changed a lot.
You're ultimately helping the farmers.
Oh, they love it. Like this is huge for them. Like there's actually two sides to this business, right? So there's the consumer side. So for customers, people love having access to this, but for the farming side, they haven't been experienced. They haven't seen something like this before, right? Traditionally, they're selling to restaurants, they're selling to wholesalers or grocery stores.
I used to walk into a little store, a farmer's store. It was very small, and you would pick it would be boxed. They would box it for you. So ultimately, I had a box done. Every week, they knew my order, and I would pick it up and I would leave.
Exactly.
Honestly, it was every week. That's why when I was taught, like for you guys do eat a lot of meat, like boxing it. Like
okay, so with truLOCAL, so we're a family of 4.
Right.
So when we order like through you, is it a certain minimum amount? Like, how does that work? Or
So it's actually,
you get a year's supply?
no, not at all. So actually, the company that I used to, yeah, no, it's a great question. So the company I used to work for, I'm sure you've had them at your door. They're the companies that go door to door and would pretty much offer to bring you a free sample and then walk into your house and try to sell you a year's worth of meat for, $35.
That's the
That's
one.
right.
That's
Yes.
the one. It was
So
a
that's
year's. Yeah.
that's where we came from. Like that's how this all came about, is because I used to work for those companies, and my co-founder Greg, we both used to work there, and we realized the business model made absolutely no sense. First of all, door to door is dying.
That's right.
Second of all, making people lock in for a year's worth of product doesn't make any sense to me. So we figured, why don't we make it online? You're not locked into anything at all. You can order 1 month at a time if you want.
Amazing.
But to answer your question, we made it really simple. So the easiest thing is that there's just two prices. There's a small box and there's a regular size box. So the regular size box is $249 and it'll feed 2 people for about a month. Okay. And the small box is $125 and it'll feed 1 person for about 3 weeks. But here's the key. You choose how often you want it delivered. So if you're a family of 4, you'll probably get the regular size box delivered every 3 weeks or so. Yeah. If you're a family of 6, you'll get it every 2 weeks, right? So the family size is the box size that you get, and how often you get it delivered is based on your family size and how much you're eating, right? If you're only eating meat once a week, then you can get a box every 2 months for us. But you're not locked in anything. You can order just 1 box if you want, and it's fully customizable. So you only choose the products that you want.
Okay,
That's
that was my next
amazing.
question.
That was the next one.
Yeah.
Everyone always asks that. So for
okay, do you get a box of chicken breast? Is it?
Yeah, so for the $249, it doesn't, whatever you put into the box doesn't change the price of the box. But the $249 price stays, but you get to customize it however you want, right?
Amazing.
And the way it works is that obviously if you're getting something like chicken breast, you're going to get a lot more than if you get something like filet mignon steaks, right? So you get to choose the value of the box. And that's where price conscious consumers can come in as well and look at it and say, you know what? Like I said, our prices are comparable to Whole Foods. But if you want to order all of the most value, the value conscious products, get your chicken breast and your ground beef, you get to choose the value of the box.
That's
right?
amazing.
So that's kind of a nice thing as well too. So the thing that we always tell people is that most subscription boxes or most products that are sold online, you don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. You kind of just order it, impulse buy. We always recommend against that. Like with truLOCAL, you should go online a few times, check out the products, figure out what you're eating, figure out what makes sense, and then build a box that really works for you. But once again, you're not locked into it. So you can change your box every single month. You manage everything from your own account online. We're adding
And
tons
you're
of
all
new
about
products.
online,
Yeah.
D.
You can hit it. There's a button
I
that we have,
know.
get my box now, right? It'll deliver you right away. We deliver next day shipping. So if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're getting it next day.
Because ground beef, you got to watch where you buy that.
Oh, man.
You know,
Don't get me started
no,
on that.
seriously.
No, I'm with you.
Then you watch the news and you see how it's. I'm like, who eats this? But we don't know as consumers, right? It's just there, and
Well, a big part of what we do as well is that it's the education portion of it, right? So a lot of people, you'll go to different places and people will tell you everything they want, but they won't put it in writing. They won't put it on the
Exactly.
website. They won't put it there,
But
right?
you do it on your website.
Everything. So the whole thing with us is that every single product actually has its own description. So instead of places that'll go and have a blanket term for something like come buy our natural products or our organic products, don't forget for a second, right? If they have 1 or 2 organic products, they could usually make that statement because, they
You're
have
right.
that. And people
That's
don't
right.
know any better. So they'll just go and think everything there is organic, right? I've seen
100%
that a
right.
lot. And with us, we do have some organic products. We do have 100% grass-fed beef. We have those, but you get to go through and see every single product, what the description is, where it's coming from. Because a perfect example is beef, right? We have AAA beef, so AAA beef coming out of Ontario. Then we've also got 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. Then we've
Wow.
also got organic beef. So the biggest thing with all these different claims, these different buzzwords that everyone's going crazy about is I personally don't believe any one is better than the other. I really don't. Our biggest thing is the local factor. So if you ever ask me what matters most when buying meat, know
Local.
where it's coming from. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. But when it comes to organic versus grass-fed versus RWA, which is raised without antibiotics, what matters most to you? I always say the local, know where your farmer's coming from, but we give people those options they can choose.
That's
right?
amazing.
So
your ground beef will be fine, D.
yeah, I can't cook.
can have more
Ironically,
tacos.
I'm a horrible cook. So I pretty much I live off our
he
ground
uses
beef.
Uber Eats.
No, yeah,
I'm
you know what? The
joking.
one problem is that I always said this. I've never been a foodie, and back when I was in university, I used to buy everything on budget, like $1.99 ground beef, the tubes. Those tubes.
Oh,
no one want
man.
to show you
Yeah,
the
yeah,
product,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Now I've become such a meat snob. Like I'm definitely that guy who'll go to our friend's house and be like, "Where'd that
do
come
you have
from?"
chicken wings?
Of course. We have 90.
They love chicken
Whatever
wings.
if you can think about it, we've probably got it.
That's
Now,
amazing. 90. He said 90 products.
Yeah.
90 products. And then he's got a fish component, right?
Yeah.
So What types of fish do you guys have?
So fish being the only products we have that aren't from Ontario. They're actually sourced out of Kitchener though. So we get everything packaged in Kitchener, which is awesome. So we have Alaskan wild caught salmon. We've got Icelandic cod. The Ontario fish that we have is pickerel and perch. We've got shrimp, scallops, all of it. And top quality. Once again, like I can't stress this enough. With meat, you get what you pay for. So I challenge anybody. We have tons of people that'll ask, well, that type of pricing, is it worth the difference? Just try it and cook it side by side.
Agree.
And there's no comparison. So we stand behind our product. We never hide from pricing.
Amazing.
You're going to get the absolute best quality. And with truLOCAL, it's not just about the meat too. It's the whole service, the aspect of it. You can manage everything just from your phone. It's been good.
So when it gets sent to our door, it comes in a box, obviously.
Comes in a box.
You have to take a picture and put it on Instagram.
Like, does it come
Actually, that's a crazy story
frozen?
too.
Does it come vacuum sealed?
Yeah, so the products are all individually vacuum sealed and blast frozen, and that's a huge thing because of the waste component too, right? So people, once again, we always say this, like we'll tackle these challenges head on. Meat's a very, very, very controversial topic right now, right? So tons of people talking about plant-based diets, tons of people talking about cutting meat completely, and there's a lot of validity behind all that. But one of the biggest things that people don't understand when you talk about greenhouse gases is that the reason the meat problem is so bad because so much of it is wasted. So almost half of all meat production ends up getting thrown in the garbage. Wow. So one of the biggest things, and once again, skepticals will always bring up something, but at least, looking at things in the right direction, the whole vacuum sealed component, it reduces a lot of waste. You'll never throw out any stuff that you have from truLOCAL because everything's portion sized and it's vacuum sealed, so it'll last a lot longer in your freezer.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's a really a huge part of it. There's a lot of things that go into it. Yeah. So it's been awesome. And like I said, we're still in our infancy, right? It's been 3 years now. And still to this day, with where we want to go and what we're trying to build, that ultimate connection to the source, we've got a long way to go. There's a lot of problems that we're trying to solve still, in terms of scale, trying to bring more farmers in.
What does year 3 look like for you?
Year 3 for us right now is we just expanded into Alberta in BC, and it's really just getting as many people as possible introduced to the brand, because for us, once again, I keep saying it, truLOCAL is not just about the meat. It's about that connection to the source. It's about the connection to the suppliers. Our community has been so amazing. The only reason that we are where we are today is because our customers and our team have created a community around this. So we're just trying to get as many people as possible just to try the product. You look at subscription boxes and you look at all these different metrics for e-commerce, and the biggest thing that I focus on, period, and I think anybody should, is obviously your retention rates, right? And the nice thing with our product is that once people try it, they stick with it. I think a lot of people, once again, if they don't know about meat or they don't, is it worth the difference? As soon as they try it, they're converted. It's hard to go back to the grocery store.
100%. I would agree. I never bought at the grocery store. I never did it. I always went to 52 and I picked up a box of meat. He would always have a box for me, and he would have vacuum sealed, but it was the local farmer that did it. If I had the opportunity to do online, which we're now doing the online with the veggies and that, if I had that opportunity, I would, because I
who you with the veggies?
eFresh.
eFresh? Okay, gotcha. You like it?
We just got it. So one of the entrepreneurs came in yesterday, and he's the owner. I didn't know
nice. He's
doing something completely different. And he just gave me a code. He's like, just try our veggies. I was like, all right, I'll try it.
Yeah, we've always been saying for the longest time too, people, for us, it's we're just trying to give people better options than the grocery store, right? Because you don't really know what's going on. There are some great grocery stores, but then there are the horror stories, right, that you got to catch. And they're obviously trying to scrap a lot of that.
No, the problems with the grocery store is that people will pick up the meat, then they're walking through the supermarket, then they decide, I don't really want it. Instead of putting it back, they just leave it anywhere. And then how do I know that was put back and I pick it up?
You've really thought that.
Yeah. I'm serious.
You've really
I feel like you've witnessed this before. So you have nightmares about this? Like this seems like this is a really specific concern.
No, that's real stuff, people. It's like it's going on. It's happening.
See, at truLOCAL, you'll never have that issue. Nobody's gonna pick it up, drop it somewhere, then put it in
they do.
It's nice. It really is. And one of the things too, people talk about fresh versus frozen, and we try to educate a lot of people on it. If people have a preference towards fresh, that's great. But a lot of the times there's some facts that are left out about the whole fresh concept. When you're dealing with a frozen product, if you look at a lot of really gourmet restaurants, they're all cooking with a blast frozen product, and the whole concept behind that is that it's the time. It's not necessarily how long it's been frozen for. It's the time since being cut to when it gets frozen that makes the big difference, right? Because that's what locks in the freshness. So if you've got a product that was cut and then it was frozen within 24 hours, sealed up, and then stored for, let's say, 4 months, that's going to be fresher any day of the week than a product that's been fresh for 3 or 4 days.
True.
So that's a huge thing to talk about. And once again, it's one of those things where, think about it, 3 years ago, the concept of ordering meat in the mail made no sense.
It
Like, let's be
didn't.
clear about that.
You're right. No, it
So
didn't.
for us, we knew, and that's where kind of Dragon's Den also came in, because for us, you know, this stuff exists in the US, but in Canada, there wasn't a lot of people trying to ship meat in the mail and keep it frozen and do all that.
For
So
sure.
Dragon's Den, obviously getting a deal on Dragon's Den and being on Dragon's Den and having them support it added a lot of credibility to it.
So did you actually take the deal? Because you never know.
We're working,
if
yeah,
you
we
take
are.
the- oh, so
yeah, we
you
did. We're working with Michelle.
Okay,
and
good.
yeah, a good chunk of the deals don't end up falling,
I know you
panning
said
out.
this to me because I told you. I was like, oh, you're on Dragon's Den. That's odd.
Yeah.
But then I asked you if you took, and you're like, yeah, we took the deal. But
Yeah,
you
we did.
Tell, I didn't know that some of them don't end up, they just want publicity.
Yeah, a good chunk of them don't end up panning out for multiple reasons. Either the Dragons don't
Yeah.
want to pursue it, the entrepreneurs don't want to pursue it.
Yeah.
For us, Michelle was just a good fit. You know, it worked out really
Amazing.
well. We got to know her really well. You know, like I literally would text, like she's actually become a friend at this point. So
That's amazing.
It's and once again, just for me, always trying to develop to having someone to look up to and be able to ask questions like that. You know, it's an awesome opportunity. So my biggest thing, once again, trying to run the business now is just, you know, trying to level up my skills as a business owner or
Sure.
CEO or
That's
whatever you want
good.
to call it. And it's a whole different set of skills that you need today compared to what you
Amazing.
needed 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. So social media, what does that look like now? For
Social
you
media is
guys?
amazing, and once again, like social media took off for us. And you know, you talk about it. We actually don't. We ran a program not too long ago, but we actually don't ask customers to be posting pictures. Like this
I
isn't
think
something that
it's honestly, it's amazing
this
though.
this
It's
isn't something that we
exciting.
do, and it's
Yeah.
but it was
You
this
have to
amazing.
see it. Like if you go through his storyline, there's like over like, it's like ridiculous.
I always say this. I always want to bring up on podcasts because for anybody who might be a customer that hears this, we don't get to talk to our customers, you know, every single day, like the ones that message in, but they've honestly like pretty much become like our friends at this point because
That's
for them, they're
amazing.
just using a service.
Yeah.
But for us, like it was me and my friend, then we hired some friends and family, then hired more friends and family, then hired their friends. So my whole company is literally a bunch of friends, and
That's
we're young
amazing.
and we're kind of doing the best that we can to get by. So for them, they're probably just using a service, but for us, it means everything, right? So I've always said that, you know, our customers, whether we've interacted with them or not, are all of our friends because the way they
Amazing.
support us on social media is through the roof. And we're also just proud that, you know, you look at what we're trying to stand for with the connecting you to the source, the I love local. It's clearly something that resonated with a certain group of people, so much
Oh,
so
for
that
sure,
they get a
yeah.
box and they want to take a picture of it, right? So we're super proud about that, and you know,
You have
always
to
want
do
to
that,
thank
Dee,
our
okay?
customers for doing that. Yeah, yeah. So
Oh, it's amazing. Honestly, Mark, I wanted to thank you. I know you're so busy. It's a privilege to have you here. So I wanted to thank you for joining us on our podcast today. So
no, I appreciate you having me. Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, you know, being interviewed by a vegetarian is always I'm in the hot seat right now. So
I know, but I honestly, when I first, from the first interaction I had with you that evening when we were talking, I did not know how young you were.
yeah.
So
Black don't crack,
talking
right?
to
So-
Mark, talking to Mark when he sent you over, and I was talking to you, and then you talked really fast. I was like, wow, I thought I spoke fast. And then I'm like, when I told Dee, I passed you on to Dee, I said, Dee, wait till you hear him.
Yeah.
'Cause she thinks I talk fast. I'm like, wait till you hear him. But just watching you evolve, like I was watching everything. Like I went back to your Instagram because the struggles, like we just opened up in 2016.
Yep.
And I'm like, do entrepreneurs know like the real struggle like you've seen behind doors? Like it's frustrating. Like
It's
I don't
super
think you
frustrating.
understand when you're switching companies and you have to go on your own and you have to establish these relationships. You need turnaround. Your customers waiting for answers, you know, and you're out there pounding the pavement. It's frustrating, right? So I'm like, does everybody just make it, right? Is that what happens? But then, you know, when I watched, it was the picture that triggered. I'm like, wait a second. So then I went all the way down and I saw you in a van delivered. I'm like, oh, so this did start hard, right?
Oh, yeah,
And then you
like-
see, so that's why what interests me in having you here, because for all our entrepreneurs out there, it's hard.
It is, and we got lucky because in one thing we took off right away in the sense that once again that community built, so customers
Yeah.
were never an issue for us. But that's a whole different set of problems, right? You
Yeah.
know, in terms of how do we maintain supply? How do we find more suppliers? How do we get the products to them? How do we build our website? All these different things, right? So it's never easy. And there's no one I've ever talked to, period, that said that their first year was easy, right? I
Yeah.
think you've got good indicators. Like as long as you've got growth, then things are okay. That's the one thing you don't want to be in a situation where things are already hard, whether you're growing or not, things are going to be hard. Just running a business is hard.
Yeah.
But if you're not seeing that growth, that's where it gets really hard, because that's the one thing that keeps you going. Like I said, like you get kicked in the nuts every single day. The only thing that can keep it going is that you're like, well, you know, we're trending in the right direction. So it's hard. And yeah, I don't think anybody who's been in it for longer than a year will look back and try to be like, yeah, this was easy. This was no problem. I breezed through this. Like everyone.
I don't know. You just look like, and then you're like 3 years. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, man. No, it's good. I do want to thank you for being here. It's a great perspective for our entrepreneurs, you know, for our clients that are entrepreneurs, and you know, it's amazing having you here. So
Awesome.
thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. It was great.
All right. Awesome. Thanks.